really got my attention because he's along with doing a lot of other things, he's also deeply into wellness and metabolism and stress management. And Bill, how did you get into all of this?
Well, Dan, for me, I kind of was a personal venture because I had grown up very obese. So I had gone on diet since I was age 9. I would lose up to 100 pounds, gain it back, lose it, gain it back. Finally, at age 20, I was diagnosed with diabetes. And so I'm 20 years old. I'm 278 pounds at 5'6", and the doctor is basically telling me that you're probably going to be blind by the time you're 35 years
Ooh.
old. And I was like, okay, I think I better change something there. So I went on from being that fattest kid in school to losing 123 pounds and winning 7 bodybuilding titles. But I always tell people my true success is I've kept the weight off. I'm 54 now, so I've kept the weight off going on 34 years.
Wow, that's a great story, and congratulations for that. That's, sustainability of weight loss is, I think it's the big issue, and it's one
It
that
absolutely is.
I'm sure you've seen this as well. I think studies are showing that well over 90% of people regain the weight within 1 year. What studies don't show, though, is that they've actually oftentimes done damage to their metabolism because they've lost muscle tissue.
the
That's
way
been
that
my
the way they
experience.
lost it, absolutely,
Yeah.
the way they lost it. So what happened to me was I went into the medical field. I'm a physician assistant, so I started in the medical field back in the early 80s, and I started researching metabolism. And that really, I've been researching metabolism now for 3 decades. And here's the truth: I've looked at every test that you could think of, from blood work to genetic to cart testing. There is no such thing as a bad metabolism. It's either working or it's not working. And what people don't understand is that our bodies basically are built for one thing, Dan, and that is survival. So a working metabolism is using fat for energy. So
Yes.
when we have an imbalance in the body stores fat and we gain weight. It's not because we overeat or anything. There's an imbalance in the body. So I found a long time ago, if I could fix the imbalance, then I could fix the metabolism. And that's the key to permanent weight loss.
Hey, let's talk about that. And I love
Okay?
that way to look at it, that perspective. So, your perspective is there's no bad metabolism. It's either
No
working
such
or
thing.
it's not.
Yeah,
And what
exactly.
kind of imbalances would you typically see?
The main imbalance is stress. And the book, and I'll kind of show you guys because we're on video. So this is the one book that's out. I got 2 books out right now. It's
Yeah.
called The New Stress Response Diet. And this book is a book that's on its second edition. The first edition sold 150,000 copies. It came out in 2009. And then what I did was I teamed up with 2 very high-end physicians here in the United States, Dr. Steven Schnur and Dr. Perry Kritschmar of Elite Health. And what I've done is, in updating this particular book, is we took 4,000 patients and tested all their metabolism to figure out what we could do to reset the metabolism in 30 days. So when people ask me the answer to your question is, what really causes the imbalance? A lot of times it's stress, and people don't know what stress is.
Right.
Stress is not good or bad.
Yes.
It's a response. And it is a response that is affected by what you eat, what you don't eat, when you eat, combinations that you eat. It's a response that is going off all day long. It's never shut off. It can only be managed. So that's the number one thing, because when that stress response is off, then what it does, it starts causing other hormonal imbalances and functions in the body to shut down.
Okay, that's man, that totally fits from what I have seen myself. If I look back to coaching on and off of other people for really since the 1990s. I got into this many
Me
years
too.
ago
90. I
myself.
started coaching in 95. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're
Yeah.
both in
Yeah.
in there. I was
Yeah.
down in Miami. I was working with one of the cruise lines. That was an interesting thing between the chocoholic buffet.
Yeah.
I was running the sports in the gym with
Right.
one of the, and that was quite a story. But anyway, what I definitely saw lines up is the people who were most stressed, and oftentimes I would ask people, "Hey, when did you first start to really gain weight?" And they would usually, if we
Yeah,
connected it.
they don't actually know what's happening to them, because you'll start to look at the age factor. They'll hit like 35 and everything will start to change. They hit 40, it absolutely changed. The patients that we have at Elite Health and the patients we tested, what people don't realize, we're all 50 and older. So we took 4,000 patients. So we're talking about women in menopause. We're talking about diabetics in their 70s and 80s. And we took these patients and we could reverse their absolute reverse their disease. And it starts with resetting some key hormones. And that's what we do in our program is we reset the body. So there's no magic. I mean, yes, I've kept my weight off, but there's no magic, Dan. I could gain that weight back in 30 days. Those are my genetics. Everybody in my family is obese. So the fact that I'm 54 and I don't have it, I haven't gained it back is because I live within a system. And that's the key to people. People don't understand. There is no magic diet. I wish I could tell you, here's your answer. Here's the magic, but there's no magic in there.
Yeah, that's very key. I often talk about with people. It's not. There's no magic bullet. But there are magic habits and routines.
Well, really, it is. You're absolutely right, Dan. It's this is my philosophy. My philosophy is I've been in this game for 3 decades, and I've been in this game at the highest level. I've worked with Harvard endocrinologists. I've worked with these top cardiologists. I've set clinics up in Panama, in Peru. I've worked in the Philippines. I've traveled the world, and the absolute truth about it is there's no magic, but there is your habits will always overrule your genetics, always. So that means you can have terrible genetics, but you get the right habits that fit into your physiology, you take total control of it.
Yeah, excellent. Hey, speaking of that, I'm sure a lot of people are probably wondering, some people haven't really studied this area and they're probably just shocked right now listening to us talk. So, what would be, in your estimation or your experience, say three of the strongest habits that
Okay.
would work for
All right.
most people?
So it's interesting. So let's first talk about what stress is, because really it's your habits to manage this response. So the stress response is our most primitive hormonal survival response we have in our body. It never shuts off. Our body is designed to live in a cave. We're not designed for technology and traffic and 24-hour news. We're not built for that. So what people don't realize is that this response is going off all day long. If you manage this response, you will have wellness. If you don't, you will have disease, because wellness is determined by the body's ability to recuperate each day. Every day that you repair, then you're going to have wellness. Every day you break, you're going to have disease. But Dan, there's no middle road. You have to manage this response. So the first line of defense to manage the stress response is diet. And this is what people don't know. You can go and sit on the mountains and meditate till the cows come home, and I will tell you this, it's not going to manage stress, because the stress response has to be managed by diet, because the hormones that are involved are affected by food.
Okay, so are we talking there about the insulin probably would that be
Yes,
the main
yes.
thing?
Well, let's talk about it. So we get stressed out, and this is what people don't really realize. My new book is called Truth, the 10-Minute Life Plan. This is the new book that just hit #1. This book is about how stress causes procrastination. So, I mean, this is what people don't realize, how devastating stress can be, but how easy it is to manage. So in the old days, you'd see a saber-toothed tiger, the stress response would go off, and it would turn on what's called the sympathetic nervous system. We'll
Yes.
call that the red zone. When
Yes.
that red zone kicks on, all aspects of wellness is shut down. So the first thing that happens is it shuts down the brain and it takes the blood flow to the limbs. It shuts down the immune system. It shuts down the digestive system. It shuts down the reproductive hormones and the recuperation hormones. The body doesn't need any of that to get away from the saber-tooth tiger. The way the stress response is supposed to work is a little unknown opposing response called the pause plan response. So we get away from the tiger. We're now out of harm's danger. We're out of danger. And it's supposed to switch off and turn back on the green zone. And that's the parasympathetic nervous system. That's the zone where all wellness takes place. It's where all ideas come from. It's where you're responsive and not reactive. It's where you're calm. It's when the wellness of the body is all working. In other words, enhanced immune system. Hormones are balanced. Digestion is perfect. That comes from the green zone. What people don't realize is that we're not shutting off anymore. We don't shut off because it was in the green zone where we invented, the wheel and discovered fire and created tribes. When
Yes.
you take a shower, Dan, and you take that morning shower and all those good ideas come to you and the water hits you, that's because it's putting your nervous system into the green zone. Same thing exercise does, meditation does. Taking a deep breath can put you into the green zone. But the first line of defense is because the way stress works is diet. Because here's how stress works. You get stress and the stress hormones release and they go high. When these hormones release, the key hormone is cortisol. Cortisol's job, Dan, is to get the body ready to take action. So
Yes.
to take action, the body needs a fuel. So the body brings sugar up in itself. Now, you have high sugar, it's got to get into the engine, insulin comes up.
Insulin. Boom.
And that's the stress response. It comes up and down all day long. So what people don't understand is to manage this response, you have to have protein, you have to have healthy fats, but also you have to know how your physiology works. My physiology works this way, Dan. I can't process sugar. It doesn't matter if it's a Snickers bar. It doesn't matter if it's an apple. I can't process sugar. Because what happens is I don't have a little unknown hormone called adiponectin. It's why I'm diabetic. And
Right.
adiponectin's job, put the sugar into the cells. So if I eat an apple, the sugar breaks into my body. The body releases insulin, grabs the sugar, and goes to put it in the cells, but the doors are locked. So the sugar rises. When that sugar rises, insulin's going to spike high, cause inflammation. Now, cortisol jumps high because that's your body's natural anti-inflammatory. So I ate an apple and just put my stress response up here, and then it slams down. And what I've done is I've shut my metabolism fat burning down.
Sure.
And that's what people don't understand is that, especially as we get older, in my 50s, if you aren't on the right diet, there's no way you can manage stress. I don't care who you are. You can't manage stress. You've got to know what your physiology is. Because if you eat the wrong thing, you might be thinking you're eating healthy. These people that are juicing and things like that. For some people, it's wonderful. For me, I would gain weight on those things. Because it doesn't matter how many calories you take in. What matters is, are these hormones balanced? That's what really matters.
Yeah, that's so vital. I remember, you know, back in the early '90s, doing lots of private training. I had some pro athletes. I had a lot of, a lot of executives, and we were under the old myth of just the calorie balance, and
Calories
so
in, calories out. And it's
yeah.
funny, when you talk to obese people, they'll tell you I don't eat that much. And
Oh
I know they're
yeah.
not lying. I know they're not lying. And one of the things that you said earlier, though, Dan, you're absolutely right. What happens is we talked about a working metabolism uses fat. What if the metabolism isn't working? Well, then it uses sugar. Now, here's the challenge. Our bodies are very efficient at storing fat, very inefficient at storing sugar. So when it's not burning fat and it's using sugar, it breaks down the muscle. And just what you said, you might be losing weight on a scale and you're actually losing muscle and destroying your metabolism.
Oh
In
yeah.
the book, I talk about a great researcher I work with. His name was Dr. William Evans when I was creating a program back in the 90s. And he created the 10 biomarkers. He's actually the doctor, the professor, or the scientist that coined the term sarcopenia. He is
Oh
that
really?
guy.
Oh
Yeah, so he's
wow.
that guy. And so the number one biomarker is muscle. So what
Yes.
determines your health is every day you either repair or you break. There's no gray area. And that's what people don't realize is just because you're losing weight on the scale, the problem is you might be destroying your metabolism, burning less calories. And when you gain the weight back, unfortunately, you don't gain the muscle back. You just gain more fat. And every
Right.
time you go on a diet and lose weight and gain weight, you're destroying your metabolism every single time.
Yeah, that's. I oftentimes use the analogy. It's a very simplistic analogy, but for the average person, the idea of think about your car and think about, if you have
Yeah,
a car with a large engine, with 400 horsepower, you're going to be. It's a gas guzzler, right?
right.
So you're going to be burning a lot of fuel. But imagine we open up the hood and we start taking out parts. We decide to take out 20% of the engine. Well, it's probably not going to work as well, and that's what happens when we
So
just.
running on two cylinders and it's an eight cylinder, it just doesn't work. I mean, if I can give something, is one thing. I'm a scientist. I'm a scientist in and out. I don't. I know there's no one right diet. I know for a fact there isn't because I test. I really do a lot of testing and I do a lot of blood work. I look at genetic proponents. I look at what's called a metabolic cart test, their VO2 max, how their body handles stress at rest. How does it handle stress during exercise? And there's no right diet. You got to know your physiology. So in our medical clinics, our medical clinics are located in Miami right now.
Mhm.
And we are elitehealth.com. That is our medical clinics.
Great.
And it's very unusual because we're not alternative medicine. We're not integrated medicine. What we are is we're a primary care clinic
Yeah.
that does wellness medicine. In other
Awesome.
words, I believe in medication. If you have high blood pressure, you need medication. Now, here's the thing. I want to figure out what's causing the high blood pressure. So if I can fix it, I'll use the medication as a tool, not the answer. That's the difference of the way our doctors look at patients. We look at patients so differently because we're not looking to keep you on medication. Our
Yeah.
job is to make sure that you stabilize. We talked about, getting the metabolism to work. Well, if you have an imbalance anywhere in the body, the metabolism is not going to work. So we want to balance the body, get the metabolism working, heal the body, and then remove the medication. It's a very different aspect, to wellness. It's a very different aspect that's not practiced well in the United States. It's actually more, in Eastern medicine. When I was in the Philippines, they were much more proactive this way than I found in the United States. But it's changing. It's starting to change over here.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I didn't realize you were that you were involved with with that deeply
Yes.
in
Yes.
the
Right.
medical side, and
Yes.
I love that term, medical wellness.
That's it,
Uh,
because it doesn't exist.
yeah.
I try to
Yeah.
explain to people, it's so hard, Dan, because I try to explain to people what we do, and they always want to lump us in a category. But you
Right.
can't put us in a category because nobody's doing it. And it's very unusual. Our doctors come out of school and we send them back to school.
Right.
And people go, what do you mean you send them back to school? Well, we want them to learn about reference ranges on blood work. We want to learn about bioidentical hormones. We want to learn about preventative medicine. And you take all that with traditional medicine and you create the perfect storm of wellness. And that's what we've created in our medical centers.
That's fantastic. And so that's at elitehealth.com. You guys you're
Yes.
based in
Yep.
Miami with that.
Yes.
And how is anywhere else in the States right now?
Well, what's happening not right now because what we're getting to do, what's exciting, I'm glad we're doing this interview. I'm getting ready to launch the programs out of the clinic to the masses. I was talking about Dr. William Evans. Him and I sat down and we created an evaluator, an online evaluator that can tell me what type of physiology that you have. Now, of course, it's not as accurate as if I had blood work, but it's pretty close. So, over 30 years of testing, Dan, I found there are two types of physiologies. You are either a lion or a cheetah. Now,
Okay.
a lion physiology is my physiology. Lions usually have trouble with metabolism. They have trouble with sugar. They usually gain weight very easily. They'll have trouble with fatty liver. And here's the thing: for exercise, we burn fat when we walk. If we run, we gain weight.
Right.
So really, it's the way our nervous system handles stress. So that's the lion. So lions usually have weight problems. But then there's the cheetah. The cheetah usually does not have weight problems, but if they do gain weight, it's right around the middle. But they're a nervous animal. They will have trouble with stress. They will forget to eat. They'll have trouble falling asleep at night. They're just a stressed out animal, and they're on the go all the time. And
Yes.
then they start having adrenal issues and blood pressure issues as they get older. And they're a different animal. I'm built for lifting weights and walking very slowly. And the cheetah's built to do a triathlon. That's what they're built for. It's natural to them. When a lion, that's why you see people doing all these marathons and everything, and they're overweight. You ask yourself, how could they be doing a spinning class 2 hours a day and not lose weight? Because they're exercising wrong for their physiology. They're actually stressing their body out. So the body actually stores fat. You can't force the body to burn fat. When we're younger, we can. Why? Because we handle stress better when we're younger. As we get older, you can't force the body to burn fat. You got to be scientific and work with the body to burn fat. So we now know, and that's what was stopping us. And we just did research after research. We have not launched this program to the public. We're not. We're actually getting ready next month, and we're going to launch it to the public. And
Wow.
in my
Awesome.
book, in the new stress response diet, I put the whole program in the book. And people go, "Why did you put the whole program in the book?" I go, "Because I'm very confident that they're going to want the program that we have on our website. But if not, at least they're getting educated on it. At least they're understanding that there are some answers. You can stop the suffering now. There are answers out there because we have tested so many patients. So out of our clinics comes our program. The program is called EliteFitForever.com. So you go to www elitefitforever, all one word.com, and take the metabolic evaluator. It's free. And see if you're a lion or a cheetah. That's the first thing I can tell you. Then
Awesome.
what it is there's 3 phases in this program now. The first phase is called boost. And this is the part of the phase that I never had when I was doing the regular programs, because the clinic programs, man, we have a lot of testing. But we also know it would take about 12 weeks for the metabolism to reset.
Right.
And nobody wants to hear that it takes 12 weeks for it to reset.
Sure.
Everybody wants quick, right? So
7 days, right?
So we took
3
these
days.
4,000, yeah, exactly, tonight. So we took these 4,000 patients and we created a program from them. And again, they were all 50 and older. And we created a program called Boost. And Boost is like magic, because what it does, it resets the metabolism in 30 days. So what we did was, without drugs, we manipulate 4 hormones through nutrition, special whey drink I created, and supplementation. It's an interesting, because I don't want people to get confused, because it's not the program. This is the reset. This is what resets your metabolism. So the first week, we're resetting the insulin hormone. If we don't reset that hormone, as you know, Dan, you don't burn fat.
No way. Impossible.
The second week, we reset what's called leptin, the leptin hormone. The
Right.
third week, everything changes, and we reset the cortisol hormone. So in that third week, you reset the entire stress response. And then the fourth week, we reset the adiponectin hormone. What we've done is, in 30 days, is we've reset the metabolism. Average weight loss, 15 to 20 pounds. But here's the difference. They're not hungry. They're not starving. What it's doing is, in fact, every week we're adding stuff into the menu. And so what it is it's resetting their body. Now, why I say that's not the program is because when you're done with that, you have to transition into your lifestyle. You have to know if you're a lion or a cheetah. You have to know everybody can boost, because those are the same 4 hormones in everybody. But to keep the weight off and to keep wellness, you have to have transition. And that's where you have to know if you're a lion or a cheetah. So phase 1, you boost, and then you take 30 days to transition your lifestyle into what's called biomax. And biomax is maxing out your biology and living 5 links. Number 1, meals, the right diet for your physiology. A cheetah eats different from a lion, very different. Number 2, hydration. Well, both animals need to be very hydrated. Hydration is one of the first keys of managing stress. People don't know that. Because when the red zone kicks on, the kidneys shut down. And when the kidneys shut down, the water is going up because it's trying to push the blood pressure up.
Yes.
So if you want to manage stress, start drinking water today and you'll manage stress. Number 3 is number 3 is circulation, and that is your aerobic exercise. There's different zones for a cheetah and different zones for a lion. Like I said, lions have to do very slow cardio, or they will stop the fat burning. Cheetahs have to do higher end or interval cardio, or they won't get to fat burning. So it's really interesting. Now, the 4th link is lean body mass, resistance training. Now, the lion's very good at resistance training. It's natural to them, male or female. They're going to be good at resistance training. Cheetahs are awkward. They have trouble gaining weight. They have trouble keeping muscle on. They have trouble. They're not comfortable in that. Now, resistance training could be Pilates. It could be yoga. It could be, it doesn't have to be weights. But why do you need it? Because you have to protect that key biomarker muscle.
Yes.
And then the 5th link. The 5th link is junk night. You have to cheat. My greatest secret of keeping this weight off for 3 decades is I cheat every week. And when you cheat, psychologically, you live in a system, and now you have a program, right, that can fit into the world. Physiologically, the body is built for survival. So if you eat the same diet, then what happens is the body will adapt. The body is a machine that's always trying to conserve energy. And so the brain's trying to conserve energy, the body's trying to conserve energy. So what happens is, by having that cheat day, your calories go way up. And the signal to the body is feast. And the body goes, wow, I got plenty of energy.
Not famine,
I don't
right?
need stored energy. Right, not the opposite of famine. Now, I don't need this stored energy, which is fat, and I can release fat. In fact, we found the patients that were afraid because they had this fear to take their cheat day, they would stop losing weight. It would absolutely, the metabolism would shut down. And so that's phase 2, transition. And then phase 3 is very simple. It's living the biomax lifestyle. And I have formulated, it took me years, but I have formulated